Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bull Central. We're checking out Indiana Jones and the Great Circle today. I was really excited for this video game for a long time, so I'm very happy to have played it and to be able to make this video and tell you what I thought about it. Man, this is a great game. Okay, it's just a great Indiana Jones. They scratch that. It's just a great video game. It's a great action video game. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I'm sure many of you are big Indiana Jones fans. You know, we kind of this global generation of nerd kind of partly grew up on Indiana Jones as much as we grew up on anything else. And you know, actually, my family, my brother is such a big Indiana Jones fan. He became an archaeologist as a man because he saw Indiana Jones as a child. So the thing about this game is that I was sort of skeptical of this first-person approach. First-person, yeah. Probably because in my mind, I want to see Indy doing stuff. I don't want to like have to be the perspective of an Indy. But the thing is that first of all, it switches back and forth between first and third. Most of it's first, but if you're performing any kind of action that is necessary, you do see his third-person form, right? And you know, cutscenes are still told in traditional narrative perspective, which is, you know, third person, right? So the first person, however, though, is not a fail. I kind of thought, yeah, this will be fun, this will be good, this is Bethesda, they know first person, but is it really going to feel like Indy? But it so feels like Indy, and it's not got anything to do with perspective. It's literally got everything to do with how they keep a single engagement, say a fight, any kind of fight, how they keep it how they keep it narrowed down to the kind of action beats that any old Indiana Jones, a great Indiana Jones fight would have had in the films. Okay, so what that means that it's mostly punching, right? Because you have those beautiful leather sounding punches that Skywalker Sound developed for the films back in the 80s, right? It's also the whip crack, ditto the sound on the whip crack, man, that sounds beautiful. It's also his gun, because every once in a while you need to pull out a gun and blow away a guy who thinks it's a fair fight, but it isn't, right? Because you're Indiana Jones, it isn't always a fair fight. And when you combine those things together, and then the stealth, there's plenty of stealth. Indy does a lot of sneaking, you can't say he doesn't. All those things together really do make for an authentic moment-to-moment experience from a gameplay perspective. There's other things on top of it, though, that make it just as memorable and just as authentic. Because, first of all, it starts with the acting. Troy Baker, he's gotten a lot of fanfare. In fact, I was watching the Game Awards the other night. Harrison Ford himself celebrated him, saying he did a great job. He did do a great job. I can confirm Mr. Ford's sentiment there. Troy does great. He does the mocap as well, so he's got the mannerisms of Indy down, of Harrison Ford down. He's got the voice pretty good, like he's, you know, but everybody knew he could do things like that. The writing is excellent, okay? It feels like a decent Indy story. It's got plenty of twists and turns, plenty of the right kinds of Indy characters, you know, the smart asses and the women who can kind of give Indy a run for their money, as well as being potentially a love interest, you know. And it's got the settings too, like the tutorial section of this game's kind of brilliant because it teaches you how to be Indy, but it does so using Raiders of the Lost Ark. It kind of simulates the first 20 minutes of Raiders up through the ball chasing you, okay, down the cave tunnel, right? So, you know, there's just so much good stuff happening here that makes it feel authentic. There's things on it too that are just good design choices. I especially love the world design. It's a globe hopper, right? Like an indie movie would be. You start in the Vatican, yeah, in Rome. And the way that they've rendered this little section of the Vatican is so full and so detailed and kind of so gorgeous. You know, if you can play this in 4K on an Xbox Series X, I would absolutely advise it. Or if you're watching this video in the future when they have ported it to PS5, please play it on a good screen, because the detail that you're going to see in these, like for instance, you go into the Sistine Chapel and it's just the detail. It's beautiful. And then there'll be like a funny little action beat between you and a guy who thinks you're a priest, so he's going to confess his sins to you, and it doesn't go well because Indy ends up punching him in the face, you know. I love everything about this game, except for maybe it's so polished that when it shows graphical issues, because it does, because I think it's maybe like 90% of the way bug tested, maybe 95%. I'm not a qualified bug tester. I can't really make that call, but there are some graphical hitches, nothing that breaks the game, but it does kind of break the experience because it's so complete, right? It's such a perfect representation. It's such a perfect modern representation of what an Indiana Jones experience should be. So when Indy jumps for a ledge and then kind of there's an anti-aliasing issue, or his coat starts flickering or doing something crazy, you notice, only because the rest of the package is so good. Like I was saying, it's not just the Vatican though. There's oh man. There's the streets of Shanghai during a bomb run, because we're starting the era of World War II here. There's the Himalayas. Like there's so many cool settings here, and what you find is that these settings, pretty much all of them, unless you're just not really going to spend a lot of time there, from a story perspective, they're big, like they're really big, and there's a lot of detail, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of secrets. Now, this is an Indiana Jones game, so what would it be without some tomb raiding? He doesn't like to be called a tomb raider. Tomb exploring and picking up of things that may be artifacts. And in those tombs, there's tons of puzzles that are actually of very good quality, but actually still feel like they could have been in a film. In a Hollywood film. You know, the thing is that, you know, check my math on this, but there literally has not been a good indie game since the early 2000s. And since then, we've had the Tomb Raider series become a big, flowering, beautiful thing, including the last several Tomb Raiders, which were just gorgeous games. There was the Uncharted series, also, you know, excellent, wonderful games. And they kind of did indie before indie got a chance to do indie in a proper, quote-unquote, updated next-gen way, apart from that last Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, I think it was called. And that was a good game, too. But it's like, well, how do you do this? How do you do the indie thing in the specific indie way without being overshadowed by something like the Uncharted series or something like the Tomb Raider series? Well, you just stick to it. You stick to your guns. You try to make it feel as much like the thing that you saw on screen when you were a little kid that made you love Indiana Jones, right? And that's what they've done. Absolutely. I enter a situation. I stealth into a situation. I get caught. I do something stupid. I pick up a shovel. I hit a guy. The shovel breaks. I use my whip. I yank a gun out of another guy's hand. I have to punch him a few times. I got to block and you know, all that stuff. So from a narrative perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a development perspective, from a design perspective, from a voice acting perspective, it just fires on all cylinders. It's an excellent Xbox game. It brings back the majesty and the magic of getting a really like first-rate AAA Xbox game. Sorry, but we haven't had that on Xbox in a long time. PlayStation gets to enjoy that all the frigging time. So I'm not going to give it a perfect score. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm pretty close because I really loved it, if not for some of these kind of more pervasive graphical hitches, a few gameplay things, but it's a 9 out of 10 game. If you want to call it a 10 out of 10 game, you are certainly able to call it a 10 out of 10 game. I'm not going to argue with you, man. That's it. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, play it if you got an Xbox. And also like and subscribe to the channel, Jeff Bowles Central. We do gaming, we do music, we do mental health discussion videos. Boy, oh boy. This has been a heck of a week, man, because I love the Marvel Rivals. You can check that video out. I put that up last week, and I got to play the Indiana Jones game. Boy, oh boy, what do they think of next?
I know you know me, running around low control, yeah, control.